the set. Lights, camera, action. Roll camera.
Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for joining me today. Today I want to talk to you about journaling. And I know you just probably saw podcast 7 and how Penny journals, and she gave you 7 excellent tips on how to journal. But you know what? There's a lot of different ways to journal. And for me, I'm not quite as structured as Penny is, and I need something that's simple and easy to do. So I just want to share with you a little bit how I journal. It actually started back in 1989 when Penny and I were first married. I was taking up running, jogging, and I decided I wanted to enter in 5 and 10K races, so I knew I needed to start training. I had a neighbor across the street. His name was John Kerner, and he was into training, and he gave me some advice. And that advice was that I needed to get a running log like this, and I needed to be able to record how I trained each and every day. And he said the reason why I needed to do this, it was a way to check whether or not I was overtraining, and if I was getting injured, what was creating that injury. And he was right. I logged in these things every day, how far I went, how fast I went, how I felt, what the weather was like. And so that was the beginning of my journaling. And I think the reason why I'm bringing this up to you guys, a lot of you probably do run or swim or bike, and you do record these things. So it's not something new to you. But what I want to share with you is that about 1.5 years into my training and logging in these things, I began to change my style a little bit. I had a life-changing event, and that event was that Penny and I had separated, and Penny had moved out of the house, and I was really hurting inside. And I remember that when I started journaling, about a month after she was done, there was an entry that I have here where it said, I ran again from the campsite to 4 minutes past yesterday's spot. It was foggy and cool. The run was good and I enjoyed it. I thought about Penny big time. I was hurting inside and imagined many lousy things. And this is the part. Why, Lord, am I so crazy about Penny and so far away? That was the beginning of my journaling to the Lord, reaching out to Him, asking Him questions, and just trying to just lay my feelings out to Him. I know as men, most of the time we're not touchy-feely and we don't like to share our feelings, but I needed to do that with God. Well, I did that for several years after Penny and I were divorced, but eventually I walked away from the Lord. And I quit reading His Word, I quit praying to Him, and about 9 years later, I had another major life event, and that was I crashed and burned financially in Florida. When I was at the bottom of the bottom, I finally looked up to God, and I asked Him, I said to Him first, I said, Lord, I've been angry at You for about 9.5, 10 years for the way that You took Penny away from me. And my next breath says, I didn't have the right to be angry at You. You had nothing to do with our breakup. I had my own part in the breakup of our marriage. I'm in a mess right now. I need Your help, Lord. I don't know if You'll help me, and if You don't, I understand, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to rededicate my life to You. I'm going to read Your Word every day. I'm going to pray to You every day, and whether You help me out or not. Well, I did. I started reading His Word every day, and I started praying, but here's what happened. I had so many problems that when I was praying to the Lord, I'd be on one specific thing I was asking him about. And I'd start praying, and I'd be about a half a minute into it, and all of a sudden my mind would wander way over to right field about another issue during the day I was going to have to deal with. And I caught myself being off base, and I came back to the prayer, and I said, Lord, I'm not trying to disrespect you. I'm really sorry for my mind wandering. And I'd started praying again about that specific thing, and the next thing my mind went off wandering in another direction where I was thinking about another issue. And I finally asked the Lord, I says, after several days, I says, Lord, what can I do to keep my mind from wandering? Because I truly need your help, and I truly need to listen to you, and I can't do that if my mind's wandering. And he brought to my mind about the journaling I did with running, and he says, why don't you try something like that? So I just got a notebook, and I just started writing out my prayers in that notebook, my concerns. And you know what? All of a sudden my mind quit wandering, and I started being more specific to the Lord about what it is I was asking. And you know, I went probably 20, 30 days, and I was kind of feeling like God wasn't answering my prayers. And I went through my journal, my notebook, and I looked at some of the things I asked the Lord. And after I read them, I realized that He had answered my prayers. And here's the deal. So many times we pray to the Lord, and we are expecting Him to answer a certain way. And what happens is when it doesn't happen that certain way, we feel like God's not answering our prayers. I want to tell you, like my friend John Kerner said in the running log, he says, you do it to go back to see, if you're injured, what took place prior to that. And that's what I do with this journaling. I start putting down my thoughts, my requests, my desires to God. And guess what? When I go back and look over it, I find out that He's answered all my prayers. Now I want to extend a challenge to you for the next 30 days. You guys who don't journal, who don't do these things, I want you to journal. I don't care if it's 2 sentences or a paragraph or whatever. I want you to put your thoughts down. And I want you to try it for 30 days. And then I want you, after 30 days, to go back and trace God's footsteps all the way through those pages and see how He's answered your prayers. Now, you might say, well, I really don't know how I can go about doing it, but in our Marriage on the Men book, in chapter 3, there's a part in there that says, if you want your journal time to be less structured and more open-ended, consider using some of these journal prompts. I'm just going to read a couple to you. It says, Dear God, I just wanted to take a moment to say, and then you fill in the rest. Or you could say, Dear God, I want to commit to you that I will, and you fill in the blank. Whatever it is, I challenge you to do that and watch your life change. If you do not have our Marriage on the Men book, you can go to our website at inverseministries.org. Guys, if you'll take this challenge, I know God will meet your need. God bless. We'll see you later.